If everybody has an outline, doesn't need it. Again, if you need an outline, raise your hand. And you should have a second supplemental one. And that's from Brad. So if you need that, raise your hand. Going through Providence, simple definition of Providence is God is in charge of all things, God is controlling all things, and God is in all things. And when we say all things, there's no exception. All things. All things. That's just a simple definition. And we're going to go through this today a little more. I'm going to just lay it out front. Understanding providence, really grasping it, really making it a part of your understanding of life as you live, changes who you are, changes the way you think, what you do. And we're going to see that today, specifically in several people's ways they reacted to situations that I can tell you right now, many times I don't react this way. I'm going to guess you don't at times. And a lot of that is because we don't grasp and understand providence and have it in our forefront. Our world today, providence is a foreign thing. It makes no sense to them. And you see that in our world today over and over, that somehow it's Mother Nature, it's forces, it's a spiritual ism type thing, or it's just humanism. It's just man doing his thing. That's the way most people live today. But providence is the biblical perspective of how to look at this world. So we've looked at things like, if we read our outline, that providence literally means foresight. It's God's continual preserving, governing of all things. And we looked at that he upholds all things, sustains all things, holds everything together. If he let loose, this world would just disintegrate. That's the activeness of God. We've looked at, he causes in this creation grass to grow, the rain, the lightning. That doesn't happen by barometric pressures. Well, put it this way, it does happen by barometric pressures, but he controls. He is the barometric pressure. Okay, that's God. When he causes and does these things, that's his hand. We looked at animals. He feeds them with his hand. If an animal eats, you just saw the hand of God moving for that animal to eat. Just watch it. Watch a bird get a worm. That doesn't happen apart from God. That's the involvement Scripture says God is in this world. We looked at he's over individual, over the affairs of men. He's the king. He reigns over everything. What that means is, we don't understand that. It's not the president that has to get permission from all different areas to do things. Supposed to, at least. I know it's changing a little bit in America. But the idea is, the king doesn't. The king reigns. When the king says it's done, it happens. He is the absolute word. That is God. Description of himself in this world. We looked at over the individual affairs of men, that Samuel 2:6, men's death is in God's hands. We looked at James. Well, we didn't look at James 4:13 and 15. Let me just read that. Now listen, you who say today or tomorrow we will go to this city or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why do you not even know why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, it is the Lord. If it is the Lord's will, we will live, do this or that. So, if it's the Lord's will, do you understand? All the plans, all the things you say, all that you do, all that you're thinking right now, what you got to do next week, all the things we do, all this is subject to God saying yes. If God says yes, those things will happen. God says no, it will not. He determines and does all those things. That's the providential hand of God. And we're going to talk more about that, how that all kind of works in these next couple of verses. Then we went on, it extends to the free actions of men. We looked at the Egyptians. Remember what the Egyptians, they just gave everything to the Israelites. Why would they do that? Their hearts were changed by God to give them that disposition. God will go down even into your desires, your thoughts, and the way you act, and he will accomplish through you what he has planned to be accomplished. Man's will is not untouchable. There are so many people that will teach that the Bible teaches that. God is a gentleman. He would never do that. Well, God's not a gentleman. He's God. Okay, he's not a gentle man. Okay, and the very definition of God is, yes, he controls and does all things as he pleases, even men and their wills. We looked at David. Remember, David had the chance to kill Saul. The coincidence, the circumstances came around. Saul's trying to kill him. He all of a sudden stumbles upon Saul sleeping in the cave. And this commander say, hey, the Lord's given it to you. Take your sword and just take care of this. Is great. David said, no. No, man, we talked about that. Circumstances. And here, let me be clear, because I think there's a little confusion. Circumstances, what I'm talking about here, what we're talking here mainly is circumstances that you think are from God. And what circumstances are from God? All. So there you go. So you don't have to ask that question. Is this of God? Is God in this? Absolutely. The answer is always yes. Always yes. So these circumstances are from God. And like David, obviously, here's what the commander said. Obviously, the Lord wants you to kill him. And see, circumstances don't tell you what to do. Circumstances don't guide you what to do when it's conflicting with what the Bible has already told you is right and wrong. Yeah, but this has got to be of the Lord, so we must want it. Jonah, I went down, I found a boat going the wrong way. I bet the Lord wants me to finally get on it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed this boat to be here for me to go the other way. Did that work out well for Jonah? No. Paul in his preaching, as he preached, was persecuted, stoned, all those things. Paul, God's telling you to stop preaching. Does the word say stop preaching? Because it gets difficult? No. Circumstances don't override the Bible. Even though they're providential and they're God-given and they're there, many times those circumstances are to test us. Are you going to listen to my word, or are you going to do that? I remember I told you about the guy that I talked to that said the circumstances were so strange of how he met this woman at the bar with his truck broke down, and they got together, and it had to be of God. God must want us to get together. Well, we're both married. There's that problem, but obviously this is God, right? See, providential circumstances don't give you permission or are not the guidance to commit sin or things against the word of that. Those are tests for us in those situations. Other circumstances go back, possibly when we're talking, do I want to be a plumber or an electrician when I grow up? Do I want to be an accountant? Those aren't sinful. Neither one are sinful. Well, sometimes circumstances work out that I get to be an apprentice who happens to be someone I know who's an electrician, and I actually like it, the electrician. Well, circumstances there, go do it. Go do it. Okay? But circumstances never give you a reason to override what the Bible says, thou shalt not, or thou shalt. Okay? Even though they're providential. So don't mix those up. All right? Questions on that? Is that clear enough? I had some questions last time on this.
I'm probably going to sound really dumb here, but
The answer is yes, but what can Satan cause?
What God allows, I get that.
Always God's hand is in the sand of Satan causing anything.
Because you're saying like how all circumstances come from God.
Yes.
You always hear people say,
We're going to talk about that very thing in about a couple minutes here. That very thing, yes. Yes, Satan can do things. We're going to find, yes, Satan has power. But when you say God is, here's what I always like this. When we say God is omnipotent, let's just lay it out. What does that mean? Really powerful, right? Doesn't mean really powerful. All powerful. What does all powerful mean? What power is outside of God? Zero. Nothing. Power does not exist outside of God. Okay, he has it all. So when Satan does have power, whose power is it? God's. Has to be. He's all powerful. So any power anybody has, Satan, us, anything that's given to us, it's always God's power, and he controls it. He doesn't let it go. It doesn't leave him. If it left him, he wouldn't be all powerful anymore. All power stays with him. So even the power anybody has, Satan, anything, it is God's power. He controls it. Nothing can happen. No one can do an end around on God with some power that he wasn't expecting. You know what I mean? And get him.
There's a book that I used to give to the young people when I was lead pastor. I used to buy multiple of them so that I could give them out to people. And I would recommend the same thing to especially parents who have young people. There's a book called Just Do Something. I forget the author for some stupid reason, but Kevin DeYoung. So anyway, the book basically, I mean, it's not a very big book, so it's an easy read, but it talks about how, as Christians, we can just go do something. Missions, whether it be get a regular job, whatever it is that you do, and just do something and allow, that's how God will guide us through life to find his will or to achieve his will.
Right. And I always love this. Even the term find God's will actually makes no sense. Because God's will be accomplished. First of all, we find God's will by reading the Word. So that's the finding God's will. Okay. But as far as finding this some kind of perfect will, as far as I need to marry a brunette with blue eyes, type thing. Or what if she's supposed to have green? I don't know. Or this idea of what if I pick the wrong job? Doesn't matter what job. Whatever job you have, what it is, be holy, be godly, wherever job you're at. Doesn't matter what job you have. Okay, but guess what? The job you have is a job that God gave you. That's how it works, and all these things. So we don't have to be all worried about, I think I missed God's will. I'm not talking about sin. I'm talking about non-sinful things, and you missed it. There's no such thing as that. God is accomplishing all his plan, everything. And, well, you don't understand. That decision was so hard, I didn't know what to do, and I had made the best decision I could do, but I'm not sure it was right. Well, then you pray, make the best decision you can for the Lord, and you trust, it's in God's plan. Okay, and then you honor him wherever you're at, and all you do. It's not that hard on those. But that's a great Sunday school lesson. Don't want to get down that path. I did one years ago on that. But let's jump on from this, and let's see, where am I at? I want to read some more on the free actions of men. This is that idea of men's wills, okay, and how it works. Let's go into Psalm 16, or Proverbs 16:1. This is, my computer comes up NIV, but so that's the translation most of these are in. But to humans belong plans of the heart. So you make plans. You make plans. I make plans. Bible acknowledges that. To humans belong the plans of the heart, but from God comes the proper answer of the tongue. What you act on, how you go about what you do, that's going to be controlled by God on your plans coming out. And when they come to fruition or not. Let's read the next one. Kind of goes right with that. Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in a man's heart. Is that true? But it is the Lord's purpose that will prevail. I don't care what plans men have in their hearts. There's a lot of them. We all have plans. Some of them are evil, some are good. Either one, evil or good, when they come out and they're allowed to come to that fruition or end, it's because God's purpose and plan is going to be accomplished in that. If it's not part of the plan he wants, it's not going to happen. If it's part of the plan, it will happen. That's what God does and controls on those things in our lives and the way we do it. So men do plan, but God's purposes will stand. Proverbs 20:24. A person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way? Do you understand that? The things you choose, the way you live, and what you do, that's directed by the Lord. That's sometimes hard to grasp. I don't feel it. I didn't get a neon sign that told me, go this way or do that. But I love getting older. Well, this is the reason I love getting older. There are some reasons you don't. Is to be able to look back and look at the Lord and go, when I made some of those decisions, you know what I mean? A lot of times I prayed and sought the Lord on those. Some, I'm going to be honest with you, I probably didn't as much as I should as I look back. But to see how the Lord has worked all the way through and brought and changed, and you go, I wasn't smart enough to think about this. I couldn't have worked this out. I couldn't have planned this way. What the Lord does, the Lord is directing each one of your steps. Yes.
I think things that something that might be confusing. When I make a choice, God allows that. He's not making that choice for me.
His hand's in it. His hand's in it.
And whatever sin that I commit is not going to change his purposes or his plan in any way.
No. And actually, the sin was part of his plan. You go so far as to say that. It was part of his plan. Because nothing happens outside of his plan. And it all goes through. So how does that work? That's the confusing part. I don't know. How can man actually make decisions that he's actually held responsible for? Because we do. The Bible tells us that. Don't throw that out. But at the same time, you're accomplishing everything God had written down in a book beforehand and according to his plan. Well, and you'll say to me, how could he find fault? That was Paul's question in Romans 9. He can't judge us. We're just doing what he's told us to do. He can't judge us. That's basically the answer. I think Luke said it one time. The answer is, who are you to answer back to the Lord? You're the thing created. He's God. You don't understand. Both can exist. They're both there. You're making decisions. You're going to be held responsible. You'll be judged. But nothing, even your sin, even your dumb decisions. You ever made any of those? All part of God's plan. What's part of the plan? What are my dumb decisions? My sin? My good decisions? What's all that doing for me as a Christian? I'm hearing something. What's that? Growing us and sanctifying us. Another word for that is conforming you to the image of God, Christ. That's the goal. And I can do that with dumb decisions. I can learn from that and say, don't do that one anymore. Okay? And getting all caught up here. But, so, that's the goal. That's why God can allow sin, dumb decisions, and all that, and still be part of his plan, because it's accomplishing the goal of conforming us in the image of Christ. It's accomplishing, if you're not a Christian, and you do dumb things, and you sin, and you don't acknowledge God. We're going to read a verse later on. Let's just read it right now. Now it's later on. But let me just, I tried to memorize it this week. Put me on the spot. I'm going to try and say it right here in front of you. Although God willing, well, I can't, I've already messed up. Let's see. What if God, although willing to demonstrate, or desiring to demonstrate his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much patience, that's what God is doing right now, vessels of wrath prepared for destruction. And that prepared means they are preparing themselves. That's the idea of that decisions and making those. Okay, they're responsible. They're preparing themselves for destruction. And he did so to make known the riches of his glory upon vessels of mercy, which he prepared beforehand. Different way. The first one, they prepared themselves. This one, he prepares them, okay, beforehand for glory. All right? That's what God is doing as you go through all this, is that he's willing and desiring to demonstrate his wrath. That's a desire of God, the Bible tells us. And he wants to make his power known. Remember, he did that in Egypt. He said, I raised Pharaoh up. They'll all know my name over the world, and they'll know my power. Okay? The sin of Egypt was used to accomplish that. So even right now, in this, sin is accomplishing the purposes God has. Now, God is never in the sin. God doesn't cause sin. God hates sin. But he's using it to accomplish a greater purpose of demonstrating his wrath and making his power known on those that prepare themselves for destruction. And then, on the flip side, he's going to demonstrate the riches of his glory. He's going to show mercy. How does this God show mercy to this people? We get back and we should just be befuddled and go, he's so amazing. I can't believe this. Look at the power and the wrath in us. But he also has mercy upon vessels, which he does. And he prepares, because we're not capable of preparing ourselves for that. That's the purpose of what God is doing. We miss that. Heaven is where it's going to be perfect. Heaven's where it's going to be perfect. That this purpose will be done. Right now, this is not heaven. This is not the purpose of this world and this earth. It's not. It's to demonstrate his wrath and to make his power known is the purpose. And sin and vessels that do sin can accomplish the plan of God right now. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that part. Yes, God allowed that for a purpose. And all of a third of the angels fell. But at the end, when it says, what we have, the hope and the promise we have, is that when we see Christ, when he returns again, we will be like him. And we will not then. That's the promise we have. For never again will not. There'll be no more sin. There'll be no more tears. No more that. That's the promise of the future. That way, people always say this. Man, prior to the fall in the Garden of Eden, had a choice to sin or not sin. After the fall, man only has a choice to sin. We're sinful beings. Everything we do is sin. There is none who are good, none who seek after God. All are unrighteous. Okay? But once we are in our redeemed, glorified bodies in heaven forever, with him we'll be like him. Then him is, he never sins. And so sin, at that point, we never sin. So we had a choice, one way or the other in the garden. Now, the only choice is sin. In the future, the only choice is we will not sin. Because if he gave us a choice again in heaven, what's going to happen? We're going to sin. All right? But that's the promise we have. Yes. And God's providence, together, there's never one, always together. Yes. And even ordained. Even ordained is a better word. Sometimes we think allow gives us a little bit of breathing room. Well, he allowed it. Well, he ordained it. Because if he allowed it, he could have stopped it too. So allowing doesn't help you in that sense, even though sometimes we think it does. It doesn't. They're together. And the Bible doesn't skirt around that issue. Philippians 2, 12 and 13 are great verses. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling. So you're responsible to work out your salvation, you and I. But then the next verse, for it is God who is at work within you, both to will, want to do it, and to do it. So which one is it? Am I working it out, or is it God that's doing it? The answer is yes. And the Bible doesn't, it finds no problem with that. It finds no problem with it. Puts those two verses together and says, here it is. Now, why can't I figure that out? That's because we're not smart enough. It's a mystery. It's not a contradiction. It's a mystery. And that's the difference.
Some of the words that Paul uses here in Romans 11, at the end of that whole section where he tries to figure this out, he's wrestling with God on it. In verse 32, he says, God is all of his disobedience, and we have mercy and all. Then 33 is that explanation that we're not satisfied with.
Yeah.
But it speaks towards, and he uses words unsearchable and scrutable.
Yep.
Which means you're not going to get your arm around it.
Yeah, you're not able to fully understand this.
All the depths of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable are his judgments and how unscrutable his ways, both of those terms
Yeah.
are meaning that we're not satisfied with that, I guess.
No.
That's what the rest of it.
What do we say? Well, then I better start searching harder, right? I better start trying to figure it out, understand this harder. Well, it's impossible, it says. Unsearchable. Inscrutable. Well, I want it to be scrutable. That's the word. Okay? That's the problem with all these things. God is an infinite being. We're not. And we're going to bring this up later on. I keep jumping through my notes a little bit, but it's good to fit in. The very definition of faith is trusting and believing when you don't fully understand this. That's the very definition of faith. And so the question is, do you believe? Do you trust? Here are the words of God that says it very plainly. This is the truth. Do you believe it or do you not? I love it. John 6. Jesus gives them the eat my flesh, drink my blood speech to the great big crowd. They all go, what are you talking about? Buddy, that makes no sense. First of all, it was actually repulsive to them, and they leave. Every one of them. He did it on purpose. And then what did he do after everyone left? Who did he look at? The disciples. Pointing to this, you guys want to leave too? Now, do you know what the disciples are probably thinking? No, I understand that. Eat your flesh, drink your blood. I got it. I know it. They had no clue what he was saying. They were struggling as bad as the other people were when they were doing that. But what was Peter's answer back to God? Where will we go? You have the words of eternal life. I don't understand all this. I don't grasp it. But I'm going to trust and believe you because you have the words of eternal life. I know that. And so what we do know about God, we've all said this, is he's all-powerful, all-knowing, omniscient. He's loving. He's good, holy, righteous, merciful, grace. We know all those things. How does all this work? I trust him on that. And that someday, hopefully, when we get to heaven, we'll be a little smarter and we'll start learning that. But guess what? If God is infinite, how long is it going to take to get to know him? All eternity. You never get it. You can grab it. You can go from here to here, to here, to here, to here. It just never ends. And that's the wonderful and the gloriousness of heaven, is getting to know God for the rest of eternity. And it's going to take an eternity. It doesn't end. And we'll continually be learning about differences of our God. That's amazing. If you think about that too long, it does blow your mind, but it's a good thing to do every so often. We should have our minds blown by God. He is mind-blowing. I don't even know where I left off at now. 21:1, that's the king's heart. Is it like in his hands? He makes it go one way or the other. So again, God is providential over the decisions, the plans, the thoughts, the actions of men. He allows it, controls it, does all those things. Somebody have their hand up. What's that? No. Yeah. 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 And I bet Abimelech says, well, I don't remember you stopping me. But that's how God does it. That's what he works. He works in us. We don't even know God's hand is there doing these things. Here's the other side of it too. There's all kinds of sides, I guess. Is God's going to reward us for our lives and things we've done here when we get to heaven. There's rewards, there's crowns, and those things. Are you confused about that one? I don't do anything good. I have no desire to do good. I don't seek after good. I don't do nothing. The good works, Romans 2:10 says, I prepared beforehand. You're just walking in them. I prepared them. I'm the one who's giving you the desire to do it and the ability to do it. Philippians 2:13. And yet he's going to give us a reward for doing it. How does that work? Yet God says, yes, you'll get rewards for those things because there's a responsibility there for us to do those things. So that's the amazingness of our God. We're going to talk, over the next couple of weeks, one of the questions we're going to look at is the difference between a mystery and a contradiction. And we're going to look at some of that. All right. This is where I wanted to start today. So we'll just kind of introduce the first one here. And things sinful. We talked about this. God's providence extends over sinful things that happen. So when men make sinful choices, they're making choices, but God's providential hand is same right there. The most famous verse, we're going to read it later on, but you just went through it, I think, last week in the sermons. Genesis 50:20. Yeah. You meant it for evil. Your hands were sinful. Your motives are wrong. God meant it for good. So, man's responsibility, God's providential hand, his hand is clean because his motives are good and pure for good reasons. The men are sinful because their motives are evil, selfish, prideful, anger, all those things. Okay? So, same act, God's hand's in it, man's hand's in it. God's hand is clean, man's hand is not. All right, let's look at this one, and then we'll probably, that's all we'll get to. 2 Samuel 16:10. My computer went to sleep here. Hold on. Here's what I want to read more of this than just the 16:10. I thought I did. Yeah, here it is. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong thing. All right. Listen to this story and see if this is how you react. I'm going to start in verse 5 and just read a little bit. As King David approached Bahurim, a man from the same clan as Saul, who was Saul, the king before David, who David replaced. So Saul's family probably has some hard feelings toward David. A man from the same clan as Saul's family came out from there. His name was Shimei, son of Gera, and he cursed as he came out. Now David is leaving the city here because Absalom, his son, is rising up trying to take the kingdom away from him. So it's a very tough time for David, very stressful, and he's having to flee and leave the city of Jerusalem. 6, he pelted David and all the king's officials with stones, though all the troops, the special guard, were on David's right and left, so they're trying to protect him from the stones and all this. As he cursed, Shimei said, get out, you murderer, you scoundrel. The Lord has repaid you for all the bloodshed in your household of Saul, in whose place you have reigned. The Lord has given the kingdom into the hands of your son Absalom, and you have come to ruin because of you are a murderer. So is any of that truthful in that sense? No, it's his view of the truth, but no. 9. Then Abishai, son of Zeruiah, now I'm Abishai. I don't know where you are in this story, but I'm Abishai. Then Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said to the king, why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over and cut his head off. You know what it is? Here's this guy throwing stuff at you. You're already stressed. You're already worn out. You're tired. You're confused. You're leaving the city. You're doing this. And he's pelting you with stones and cursing at you. And you've got your military guys right here just itching. Just itching. Let me go cut the guy's head off. Okay? We'll solve it. Be done. I don't know if you ever watch I probably shouldn't. Austin Powers. Let's get a gun, go out and shoot. But, but, but that's what you think here. But listen to what David says. But the king said, "What does this have to do with you, you sons of Zerai? If he is cursing because the Lord, if he is cursing because the Lord said to him, 'Curse David,' who could ask, 'Why do you do this?'" Then David said to Abishai and all his officials, "My son, my own flesh and blood is trying to kill me. How much more then this Benjamite? Leave him alone. Let him curse, for the Lord has told him to." Basically, the Lord's told him to curse David. That's what David is saying. Do you look at life that way? That's a providential look at life. That's understanding providence. And actually, not just knowing about it, but now living in it, the providence. He says, this guy can't be cursing me and doing this if God doesn't allow it. Okay? So, I will let go on, because obviously there's probably something here I need to learn. It's good for me if God's allowing this, to do this. Listen, 13. So David and his men continued along the road while Shimei was going along the hillside opposite him, cursing as he went and throwing stones at him and showering him with dirt. Wouldn't you love that? Stones, dirt. This guy, who knows how long this journey was, constantly just chirping at you. I may have started, let's say, I'll be honest with you, let's say I was righteous enough to start out providential thinking. Half hour in, I might say, okay, Abishai, you're right. Go take his head off. But he didn't do that. Look at 12. It may be that the Lord will look upon my mercy and restore me to this covenant blessing instead of the curse today. I kind of missed that verse, but now let's go to 14. The king and all the people with him arrived at their destination exhausted. Can you understand why? So even to the point of exhaustion, he still understood providence. That's amazing. That's why, that's what we're to do and understand these things. Think about this, going through providential. How can you do that? How can you respond that way in your life? A lot of times in my life, I don't live it that way. But you respond that way because you understand providence. And it's right here in front of you all the time. And that's why he was ready. Job lost his family, all of his kids killed, left his wife. He probably would have reversed it after what he did. But all his kids killed, lost all his money to this. And he said, his response was, Lord giveth, Lord taketh away, blessed be the name of the Lord. How can you do that? How can we respond that way? Providence. We have to understand providence. Now, when Job was faithful to the end, what was the final result? They got double everything back, but he had 10 kids, he got 10 more kids. He didn't get 20. Why? What's that? They still existed. They were in heaven. He'll be with them for eternity. So God doubled everything in his family because he'll have his family doubled for eternity. This is what, I don't know if Job understood all these things. You could tell by his struggles. He didn't understand all this. But he understood God is provident. And then that's why he reacted that way. That God has the right to do with my life as he chooses. That's his right. My right is to be the creature and just to praise and honor him and bless him. That's what providence does for our lives. Paul, that's why Paul could continue preaching as he did, even all those struggles, because he knew the providence of God. Every time I preach, I'm getting beaten up and stoned. What would all of us say? Why don't we stop preaching? Won't happen. Paul says, no, God has purposes in those things. So we're going to end at that point, and we'll pick up, kind of go through the rest of that, and just hit that a little harder on the sinful acts. But you can see, even with the right attitude and understanding of the way this world works and what's going on and how God is, what he's doing to accomplish his plan, it gives us the ability to react properly, to honor him properly in those situations rather than fight against it, to pray properly in those situations and not pray wrongly in those situations. It just corrects and aligns a lot of issues that I have in my life that I struggle with in these areas. And I'm going to guess if you're like me at all, you struggle in those too. Any last questions, comments on this before we, questions or anything? So I'm just hoping you're getting just a sense and just a picture, and hopefully that sticks in front of you, that you are not walking along in this world apart from God and performing for him, and he's watching to see it and being impressed. He is working through you in all situations, everything that's going around, and for his good and for purposes. And even when most of the time we don't understand that, Job struggled understanding it. That's normal it's normal to not understand why. That's perfectly understandable and fine. But then, even in your lack of understanding, having a trust and a belief and a faith in God on those things.
I just think it's so good for us to gain perspective. You know, we're so saturated by like a man-centered worldview. I mean, the media and everything. It's about me. I'm the determiner of my own destiny, or I'm the whatever, or I deserve this.
Yeah, I just want to be happy. Well, yeah, that's not the goal of our lives.
God is the center of the universe. That's what we find out when we read the Bible and we live our lives, and he gives us the privilege of being his children and joining him in that. It's not always easy, but it's always for good. And it's always about God. And I think that's what this whole lesson of Providence probably is teaching. Life's ultimately about God. The world's ultimately about God. We just get to be a part of what God is doing.
And if I understand that, live that, grasp it, it makes this life meaningful, purposeful, and even to a certain extent, much more understandable than the other way. That gives us a reason. Maybe not understand fully why things happen, but we can trust that there is a plan and a purpose. That gives me a settledness to trust on those ways, even when I have no idea, no way how what this just happened could ever be part of God's plan, could ever honor, and can ever be there. And we're all going to have certain things like that in our lives. But then the question is, do you trust him or don't you? Do you understand that I'm good? Do you understand these things? That's what my Bible says. Or do you not? Or you do not? Job had to struggle through that and go through that. It's good lessons for all of us, and we'll all be there to different varying degrees. Some people's lives I look and I go, yeah, that would be hard for me to go with the Lord. But the Lord is there, and it's part of his plan, and he will give you the strength, power, and the purpose to get through it. Okay, let me close with prayer. Lord, thank you for your word. Lord, these are things we wouldn't grasp. These are foreign to us, this thought. Our sin-filled lives center around us. Lord, let us be godly today. Let us see the world through your eyes, what you're accomplishing, and may we honor you in all things. Pray these things in your Son's name. Amen.